Steve Doyle. The word I think of when I think of you is good. Now, I know as Christians, there is no one that is good except for God, and I understand that. But when I think of you, I think that's a good man. Because whenever I interacted with you, you always had the best in mind. You always thought of the best possible scenario. You always worked to make things better for people around you. And so thank you, Steve, for your good service to Norfolk Christian over these many years.
Hi, Steve. I'm praying that you enjoy retirement as much as you enjoyed working with the students in the guidance department. Many blessings to you and your family and all of your new adventures. Take care.
Mr. Doyle, I just wanted to say a quick thank you for all the years of service at Norfolk Christian. I wanted to stand by my class because I know we were the first class that you were technically the guidance counselor of. And I want to thank you for the many years that you dedicated to Norfolk Christian and to my family. You got to be the guidance counselor for at least 2 of my kids, and I just appreciate your service and your love for the school. And we will miss you here.
Steve, I just want to thank you so much for the years of friendship for me and for Doug. I will never forget when Doug was in the hospital a few months before he went on to be with the Lord. I remember that you sent him a message, an email, and I was reading his messages to him at the time from Romans 8, the scripture that talks about that our present suffering is not worthy to be compared with the glory that will be revealed in us. And I remember that scripture as I read it to him. Doug started just kind of mouthing along. You knew that scripture by heart, but what a blessing it was, and just such a perfect example of the many, many ways that you have shared the love of the Lord and the truth of his word with me, with Doug, with so many others here at this school. What an invaluable blessing you've been to all of us, and I pray that God will bless you in these years of retirement with just the opportunity to be in his presence and to continue to do the things that God's put on your heart to do. God bless you, Steve. We love you now and always.
Hey, Mr. Doyle, this is David Kalana. It can't be overstated the impact that you have had on so many students, parents, and families in the decades that you have faithfully served the Norfolk Christian community. I first want to apologize again for how my class treated you, me included, in 9th grade doctrines class those many years ago, but I hope you forgive me for that. But I just want to thank you in that when I was on faculty, it was so clear in every meeting that you just had such a genuine faith and a desire to serve the students and families at Norfolk Christian. Thank you so much for your service, and thank you so much for the eternal impact you've had in the lives of the kids and families that were a part of the Norfolk Christian community. You are missed, and you are such a blessing.
Some things when I first arrived here, well, as I said, Bob Miller and Charlie Schneider hired me in those days, and I was the guidance counselor primarily, but I also was immediately given the Bible teaching position across the hall from Jim Hinshaw. So he and I taught half the juniors, and that semester we would switch the kids and teach the other half, and I did that for about 20 years as well as all the guidance. So when I first came here, those were my 2 main roles. Well, for whatever reason, my roles increased kind of exponentially, as many do when they're in this environment. And so in addition to Bible teaching and doing the guidance work, the college guidance and career guidance, I mean, financial aid stuff, the whole picture there, I slowly but surely took over the senior sponsorship, which, as Bob Miller moved out of it, included planning graduations, getting gowns and caps, getting senior verses and senior awards. All that was built into that position. And that was fun, but it was big also. That was a large addition. I ran the Honor Society for a while, the ceremony and the choosing of all those kids, and refined that process. I also ran chapels, including the music and planning and getting speakers and for a number of years. That didn't last too long. So all of those roles built in over the years. Well, lots of people that aren't here anymore. A few came later. I don't know if any are still here now that I first worked with. But Bob Miller and Charlie Schneider hired me. They were the administration. Cindy Megginson and Avie Carlisle were the leadership of the middle school. I worked with Tom Balance, came the same year I did and taught history for a whole lot of years. Harold Baxter was the English department head. Gosh, so many others. Larry Chico taught math. That's a name from the past. Jim Bryan taught math. He's married to one of the Schoaf sisters. So there are so many connections from people that many of you listening to this would know now that go back that far. When I first arrived here, Britt Visser was a senior, as was O'Neill Arrington and Janita Ainge Smith, and some others who greeted me when I first arrived. But I mean, if I sat for a while, I could name lots of teachers who were there then. So when you talk about what has changed over the years, the first thing that comes to my mind is how we schedule. One of my first jobs as school began in 1983 was there was a long line of kids outside the office outside Bob Miller's office. It was a conference room of sorts. And the kids would stream in one at a time, and we would write their requests on a legal pad. Francis Owen would do that. There's another name. I could talk for hours about Francis. And then we would make the schedule from there. So we worked off 8.5 by 14 legal pads to schedule the school. And that quickly morphed into using Apple Works. Some of you will remember that, most of you won't. And then till today, when we have the fancy software that does a lot of it for us. But that would be the first thing to come to mind about changes. Buildings, of course, have changed. Some of you who are hearing this will remember the Butler Building, which had no running water. It was kind of right where we're sitting now in this beautiful library. But if you've been here in those early years when I came, you'll remember that, where we had chapel and lunch. Jim Hinshaw had a little office back there somewhere. Boy, so buildings have changed so drastically. And of course, teaching staff's leadership is all turned over numerous times since I've been here, but that's a good question. It's good memories. I think what has been the most consistent is the philosophy has not wavered a bit. We have since I walked in the door here, a couple of things have been incredibly consistent. The fact that we desire to equip ambassadors has been true from day one. The way we do that has changed some, but the commitment to doing it has never changed. So that philosophy, I know that today's leadership is just as committed to that same thing as way back when. I was blessed to come here when Gene Garrick and Bob Miller were both big voices in the Christian school movement. And I learned a lot from them about how it all began. That certainly has been consistent over the years. I think strong teaching has been consistent over the years, and a commitment of the faculty to doing just what I said, to growing ambassadors and equipping them. I think a commitment to strong programs across the board. Programs have gone up and down over the years, but even the extracurriculars, strength of athletics and the fine arts. My two sons profited from a huge band program with marching band and stuff like that back then, and strong athletics. I mean, my Stephen was on a championship team. My son Ben was first team all conference in basketball. And I still miss watching them do their thing. And that was a long time ago. So that has been consistent over the years. And even when it wasn't as strong, the commitment to making it strong was still there, consistently there. I mean, programs wax and wane, that just happens. But those commitments have never changed. Gosh. As far as pranks go, some stuff that kids did, some of them I remember because they were over the top. And we remember them because of negative things. But most of them were lighthearted and fun. Like, for example, one time, I don't know how they did it, they got a Volkswagen into the hallway in front of the old gym. I cannot even tell you how that happened. I think it was an inside job. They had help. And it was all painted, class of, whatever it was. I've forgotten what year that was. And then it also, the other one that comes to mind is the chickens and stuff that somebody put in the school that were roaming around the hallways. That was a pretty negative experience. Another one, a whole hallway filled with glasses of water. Another one, all the desks in all the teachers' rooms were piled up high at the back of the room, just as we're all set up for school. We laugh about all of them now. At the time, we didn't laugh at all of those. I mean, that's just a few of them. Okay. What brought me here to this amazing school was I was finishing up my time at Grace Seminary for a year of counseling training. And of course, already knew about this school from my previous experience in the Christian school world. Norfolk Christian is a model, so everybody in those days wanted to come here or come learn about it. And I saw a letter on the wall of my professors, outside my professor's office, that was written from Charlie Schneider talking about the guidance position. Charlie was the principal in those days, and I snatched it off the wall and went in and told that professor I was applying for that position. And the rest is history, as you say, right?